Hello, Jared Morris here with Settled Christianity, coming at you today with the 13th day of the Holiness Challenge. As you can see, I'm not in my usual filming spot, nor even at the outside filming spot at my workplace. I'm going to turn the camera around and you'll be able to see this great river that I'm filming by, and just sitting here on this big rock, taking a moment to film before I jump in. Just taking a day out with my wife and a few friends to swim around and whatnot, and I just want to take this moment to film by this beautiful location and just think about the holiness of God. As we talked about a little bit yesterday, we talked about in Isaiah, and it talks about how when he saw the holiness of God, it moved him to re-examine his own life and the sin in his life. And what I want to stress to you today, the truth that I want you to abide on today, is this idea that holiness is, we are supposed to love holiness, and we are supposed to love righteousness. And the idea comes from Amos 5:15, where it says, "Hate the evil and love the good." And it might be that God has mercy on the remnant of Joseph. Paraphrase kind of last bit, but first two lines: hate the evil and love the good. And what I want to encourage you today is that in your Christian life, you should strive to love the good, love righteousness, love holiness, and to hate evil, hate sin, hate wickedness, hate temptation, hate the things that try to draw you away from God. And it talks about, and it talks really about this idea in the New Testament, in Galatians. It talks about that in times past we were drawn by the course of this world. And, just like this river, runs away from the head of the river. The idea is that sin, anything that distracts from God, will act like this river. You might be able to work against it for a little bit. You might be able to swim strong enough to fight the current for a little bit, but eventually, in your moments of weakness, in your moments of exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion, you'll be swept away by the river. And this is what happens when we allow things that, when we allow thoughts about sin in our life. And I feel like that's what it was for many years in my life. It's where I would struggle with sin, and I would think about that sin. I would think, if this happens or that happens, or I'd think about it, I'd dwell on it, and I think, yeah, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall back in that sin, whether it was, in your life, whether it was anger, wrath, drugs, alcohol, sexual sin, sensuality, just anything like that. If you dwell on it, if you think about that sin, even if you say, oh, I'm not going to do it, the fact is that thought means that you do not hate that sin. You truly have not come to a point where you hate the sin in your life. And I want to encourage you today is that to look in your life and ask yourself, do I really love the righteousness and holiness of God? Do I love the righteousness that God has offered me in my life? And do I hate the sins that I'm trying to overcome? And if there's any part of your life, any part of your soul that says, where you're thinking, I really like that sin, or I do go back to it if this or that, if that sin is an option in your life, then it means you do not hate that sin. And I pray every day that you wake up and you look in your life and you say, I hate that sin that I'm struggling with. I hate that evil. I hate that wickedness. And I am, today it is not an option. Today it is not an option for me to fall back into that sin. And I've said before that holiness, walking in the holiness of God, it's like having a motorboat in the river. So if you have a boat with an engine, you can go up the river fairly easy. There's whole boats designed for rivers, just going right up against the current. And even at moments, if the temptation gets hard, as long as your engine is fueled by the Holy Spirit, you can still overcome it. And that's what loving God gives you. It gives you the energy to overcome that temptation. So that's really the truth I want to abide on today in my own life and to meditate on, and also for you to abide on in your life, is to hate the evil and to love the good. But anyways, just stick with it. We're almost halfway through with the month, almost halfway through with the challenge. I encourage you to come back tomorrow for day 14. But anyways, this is Jared Morris with Settled Christianity coming at you today with the 13th day of the Holiness Challenge with Settled Christianity, helping you continue in the faith.